Okay, that was Oshi no Ko, Season 1, Episode 2. What can I say? Expectations exceeded. I know, like, I don't know. There's something about the show that I'm obsessed with right now, and, like, I just love it. I love it.
I love that it seems like there is going to be this school-like element to it that could maybe lean more into a drama or slice of life in some way. But there's still this, I think it's more a drama.
Mm-hmm.
There's this deep element that I'm really happy is still a through line from the prologue within this episode. Like, obviously this episode was kind of just setting the story up of kind of what's going to be taking place in the future, what the plot is, who they are now and what their dreams are now, if you will.
Yeah.
Who are the characters that are...
I think it did such a great job at showing us who the characters are currently without shoving it in your face and while progressing the story and setting up for the future. Mm-hmm. Like, I can see, like, the vision of trying to do that, but to actually pay it off in a way that has me feeling so many different emotions about just Aqua even is, like, nuts to me.
I was talking in the intro about the kind of idea of giving that prologue, giving the backstory to the parental figure dying before you really get into the story and how that could possibly change things. And I would say that if this was just what you started off with and maybe there was some other kind of exposition, some other explanation in this episode included, and you just didn't have that prologue, there were moments in it that it's like they knew that you were going to get emotional. They knew that you already were attached to I. They knew you probably cried. Like, the people that made this knew you probably cried in the prologue. And so the things that, you know, if you hadn't had that prologue, that you... When Ruby gets dejected from that phone call, and that feeling of why Aqua, you know, really doesn't want his sister involved in it, all of these things are backed up now by this emotional, deep kind of feeling and thing that we can resonate with and immerse ourselves in and understand.
Yeah.
Like, we can understand just from starting the story out why certain things would affect certain characters or what memories they might be recalling, even if they don't show us.
Yeah.
And it made me... I teared up multiple times in an episode that only showed me, like, twice anything of, like, I during her death scene.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you're bringing it up. In big letters circled at the top of my page, I have "What if no prologue?" Because I think that it's something to talk about. I personally think that this whole season, let alone like this episode, could have been completely done and edited for the most part. And then they decided to animate the prologue. I'm not saying that's what they did.
Yeah, but I get it.
I'm saying that, like, with the exception of a couple shots that they showed us of last episode, like Ai's death and like the reiteration of wanting Aqua, like, to be an actor or asking if that's what he was going to do. I really feel like I could have watched this as the intro episode without the prologue. I'm so glad I didn't. I'm so glad that we were gifted.
It's refreshing.
Yeah. I'm so happy that that wasn't the case. But it's so interesting that they were able to convey such a, like, compelling story with me kind of getting the gist of everything, even if I try to ignore everything that I'd seen prior.
Yeah. I think we're used to this very common trajectory of slowly expanding our knowledge of the world and the characters in it and slowly piecing together backstories, and then that could enhance on a rewatch. You would know, oh, that's why they said that thing and why it was so powerful at the time. I didn't catch that. I didn't understand why that meant so much to them, and now I do. And that can, you know, that's great for, like, hindsight or when you're done watching it. That's a certain trajectory, and I think it's the most expected and common trajectory at the moment that we see. And so there's something like I'm really intrigued, and this is really refreshing to kind of already know the deep feelings. We got introduced to the deep and the trauma before even starting. Like, that's It's wild to me because I'm so not used to it, but I think I'm really excited to see how calling upon now knowing that as I watch further episodes.
It's so refreshing. It's such a new route. And rather than trying to make guesses of like the typical route you'd take, that time is being utilized, in my opinion, in a much better way, and trying to understand the characters like to the utmost degree. Like, I'm trying to look at Aqua and hear what he has to say and the actions that he's doing, trying to see how his previous life combined with the trauma of this early life has molded him to make these decisions. Because when he's making a decision such as acting like he's like an agent rejecting his sister, it's not just a middle schooler doing this, right? Like and you're like, oh, you're making a stupid decision that could be considered like evil in one light, but it's also, I can see your intention trying to help her. No, like, it's somebody who has experienced a lot of life, a very tragic life in front of them, being Serena with all that hope, seeing what comes potentially from that, and why, like, I'm so intrigued to hear the reasoning and growth behind characters like Aqua.
I think you touched, so as you were speaking, the word that I kind of, you didn't say it, but it's what made me think of, it's a word that was used in this episode, was reality. Yeah. There's something about already having these things that it almost can keep you in the reality of what you're currently watching and what the characters are saying, because you can immediately identify what the feeling is and why they feel the way that they do. Yeah. And it unlocks a different form of understanding. It unlocks a current and in the moment understanding, and not a hindsight understanding or a slowly piecing together an understanding. Like, we are almost like, okay, it's like we were given a play-by-play book of what these characters, who they are, what they've gone through, and now everything that we watch, it's like we can be in real time with them. Yeah. And we can understand why they're saying what they're saying, what they're saying. Instead of having to like piece it all together, we can truly immerse in it. Yeah. And there is this factor of like, Aqua's character for us is so accessible to understand now, because we know he superimposed Serena into I. They are these hopeful, these life-filled, these girls that he wanted to protect. And him, unknowingly, to Ruby's past life, this is just a third girl to him that he cares about, that he wants to protect. You know, he wants to see live a long and happy life. Yeah. He doesn't want to get stalked and killed. He doesn't want to see her dejected and hurt. He doesn't want to see her broke at 30 and feeling worthless about herself because she can't get a job as an idol anymore. Yeah. Like, that we already know all of the kind of things that are driving him. And it's a very new experience to have that.
I mentioned this in another show we're watching, but I think it's like, it probably has a little more credence in this show. And that's, even though you're technically being reincarnated, I wonder if at all you inherit anything that isn't physical from your parents. I think that it's tragically understandable that Aqua is one of the only characters in this show that's not living for themselves. Like we have I, who had had a mentality of like, yeah, I'll help people in my own mind. I'll have a response ready to go that would make them happy, but that was mixed with the disposition of living for herself and trying to do what she thought was right and make herself happy at times, right? Or make her kids happy at times. Right now, it's nothing but Aqua living for himself, for other people, and trying to like help other people. And I feel like that disposition, like, it could totally be correlated to Eyes, and I think you could see a lot of resemblances in both of them.
I think what it opens up is, here we have two characters that were reincarnated, but one character got to live a decent chunk of fulfilling life where they helped people. They were a doctor, they were brilliant, they saved lives, they were a big part in connecting with other people in their lives. And then we have a character that was reincarnated that didn't get to live any of their life. And so it makes a lot of sense in that regard to me that Aqua would be so focused on caring for the other people in this new reincarnated, like this new life of his. Yeah. Because he already spent a good amount of life that he feels good about he liked his past life. He liked who he was. He liked what he did.
Yeah.
You know, he was happy, and he got to help people. And so he's already, you know, lived the life. That life was lived well.
Yeah.
And so he, going into this life, all he can think about and all he can attach to is those memories of those lives he witnessed that didn't get to be lived well and ended in a way. It's like he can't even almost remember, hey, dude, you were murdered.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you're trying to avenge I and you're trying to protect Ruby, but like you were also murdered.
Yeah.
You were taken away from a very fulfilling life, but he might already feel like, well, I got to live more than maybe they did.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that you're right with that. One thing that I want to like talk about too, that like to connect it with something that could mirror I and her ability to even lie, right? I think in a similar way, Aqua, without even realizing it, is a great actor, right? It's interesting to see the lack of confidence play out on screen due to overthinking and maybe thinking incorrectly of what things actually are. Because we saw from Aqua, like, what he thought acting was, how he has fallen short in these instances. But if, like, he took a step outside of himself for a second, in him being on the phone with other people, him, like, telling these white lies or these lies to further his mission, he is accessing a talent, a skill that could be reattributed and used in another vein if that's where his passion laid.
It's like he's more confident lying to real people. He's more aware of his talent in terms of like in real
There's
life,
no question.
Real life application. But not on screen. He's not having that translate, or he's not believing and having the confidence that translates. Like, we have 3 instances of him doing a really great acting job. I mean, a surface level with Strangers, we have a surface level with Stranger, we have him pretending to be the Strawberry Productions representative. Did a fabulous job. The kid's in middle school, but he still appeared to be an adult that could recruit people for a production agency. Come on. And then calling your sister on the phone and she can't tell it's you? Come on. Then
go on.
The third and the biggest, he has been squandering her opportunities, and she can tell something's off and he's not telling her everything, but he is hiding it. Like, he is acting with her. To be able to hide how much work he's actually doing behind the scenes in order to kind of keep her from being an idol.
I can only imagine, 1, how isolating that is, but 2, morality is going to be a really interesting route this character goes down. And the confidence too, like, it's unquestionable, right? Like, in regards to what his actions, what you just listed, there's no thought, there's no doubt. It's just, this needs to be done, so I'm doing it. Period. It's going to work. Period. Because I'm doing it. It's so interesting. Yeah. It's so interesting.
It definitely opens up the question of, are there actual abilities, talents that have been passed down to them from I? Did he really receive his ability to lie from being born of I? Or is this something that he was able to... Did he possibly practice this as a doctor? He probably had to soften some words, or maybe it's something that he could have done but he didn't want to do to patients. He wanted to be real with them. It is a skill or talent he could have already innately had in him in his past life. It's a possibility, a way to make people feel safe and secure, to be trusted by people. These are abilities he already had, to be trusted, and whether he manipulates that or not is something that he could currently be experimenting with. But it is interesting to bring up, like, I think you said it maybe like 5 minutes ago, of like, what could actually have been passed down to them from I other than their looks. We get the fact that Ruby has some shortcomings in the talent department, meaning her singing, which I find interesting. I almost figured that she was going to be, from how the prologue ended, not just a great dancer like we actually got, but a singer.
I love that she's a great dancer, though, because that was like that's what we got in the prologue, the history of that and the fragility. But like, I want to talk on Ruby, but the last thing I want to say about Aqua is, I love the line from the director in regards to how Aqua's like talking negatively about himself, and he said, only say things like that after you've used all the tools at your disposal. Dude, I love that.
Like everyone has the right to dream. Those were things that were said. I wrote down that Aqua is extinguishing his own flame.
Yeah. God, I like that. I like his premiere editing too. You know,
that was a little nugget just
and the
for
director
us.
needs to clean up his desktop. There's too many folders. Put them in
That's
documents
more like
or something.
my desktop than yours.
Unbelievable. And I feel like that disposition, like, it could totally be correlated to eyes. And I feel like that disposition, like, it could totally be correlated to eyes. And I feel like that disposition, like...
And I feel like that disposition, like,